Hey everybody. Yeah. So nice to see all of you guys here. There are two tables that are like almost empty. There's a table over there, so if any of you folks standing up feel like prime seats, you're in luck. There's also some chairs over there you can take off, but watch out for the tripod. Hey, we're the Wandering Seas. Thanks for coming to the show. We'll talk more later, but we should play a little bit.
Okay. called Morningside, written by Channing Showalter.
Thank you. One of the things, so this might be our last show. Colleen here, I'm sorry to, you can tell your story, but Colleen's moving to Ireland to study Irish music. Master's program in the city of Cork. We're very sad to see her go, but it's causing, we were reminiscing about our band, and we just want to thank you guys a lot for, some of you for liking us as a band. And well, one of the things that's special to me about the band, and I think in general, is like Josh and Ray, we write a lot of our tunes, that one, or they're friends of ours that wrote our tunes. And the next one is not one of ours, but it is a local composer named John Miller, and he wrote a tune here called Dolor y Gusto, and we'll be excited to share for you. But how about another round of applause for Josh and Ray? Really beautiful stuff there. Huh? Anybody here a fan of Deacon Hicks when they were playing? Yeah, wasn't that a little eerie sometimes? I don't know. If you saw Josh and Ray, it's very beautiful. We'll do Dolor y Gusto. All right. Ready?
called Saturday Behind the Bar. Maybe one of the biggest honors I've had in life so far is that some fiddlers in town learn this tune and play it in sessions. So cool. Huh?
We're still learning the song.
band members know this, but I submitted that track as part of my application for the MA program. Just because probably everyone's going to ask afterwards, I can just tell you all at once, I'm going to UCC, University College Cork, in Cork. And the name of the master's program is Irish Traditional Music. Oh, and now for some Brazilian tunes.
Set the tempo.
Yeah, like slower.
Right. Here we go. Sound okay over there? I hear everything okay? Oh.
Two thumbs up.
The musicians are giving us thumbs up. That's a good sign. Nice work, Johnny. Thanks to the Orion and Johnny and the bartenders. And the Tippy bartenders.
Brown bird.
Yeah. I'm gonna stand.
Oh, she's standing up. Damn. Going to Ireland and get all showbiz all of a sudden. This next one is one that I wrote. It's called Little Brown Bird.
Choose the tempo.
Huh?
Choose the tempo.
Is that really fun?
It's your.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meant to do that. Do you want to anymore?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the mic's down here now. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that felt like a test. I think we nailed it. This next tune is called Ennuyement, which is a made-up word from the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, which you all should check out because it's such a cool book. The definition of ennuyement is the bitter sweetness of having arrived here in the future without being able to tell our past selves how everything turned out. So, that's the name of this tune.
Let me check tune real quick. you're saying.
Thanks very much. This next tune is called White Willow. It's one of mine. I'm going to miss playing it with these people. Well, one of these people, who shall remain unnamed. But, here we go.
rehearsed last night in in my garden. That one benefited a lot. This next one we've been referring to fondly as lit lat tat. Which is a lot of letters that stand for something that I came across on the internet that struck me, and then I wrote a tune. So the quote is, "Because life is too long and too terrifying and too beautiful to go it alone."
Lit lat tack.
Lit that tad dicky. For sure.
I was accused recently of being too serious when I tune. It's very serious.
Okay. D. Okay, D is the first note.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
performance of that tune ever. And there's kind of nothing cooler than making up a tune and then having people make really cool arrangements to it. Do you want to say anything about Walk to Water?
Sure.
Clea Taylor on the cello.
I keep wanting to do that when Clea's soloing. I keep wanting to grab the mic. Like, Clea Taylor. She hate that.
I wrote the next one called Walk to Water. We have a tradition with our friends where we all write Annie a tune for her birthday. And I felt like maybe somebody else should get a birthday tune. So I wrote one for Channing. And she's kind of a ethereal woman who for a while lived on Waldron. And I pictured her kind of like walking down the cliffside and slowly into the water. So that's why it's called Walk to Water. She likes to go swimming, it's not weird. 4 and a tag. Yeah.
We do have an email list, and I don't know how many years have we been playing as a band? Like 6 or 8? Or maybe let's say somewhere between 6 and 10 years. I think we used the email list like twice. And one of it was for this show. One of the times was for this show. And even though Colleen's leaving, hey, maybe we'll play again someday. And if you want to be there for the magical reunion show, you should get on the email list, because there is no other way you're going to hear about it unless you happen to be close personal friends.
You should play in Cork.
Yeah, we've talked. Maybe we'll play in Cork. You guys can all come out. I'll send an email to the list. See you in Cork. I just want to talk a lot so I can drag out the show as much as possible.
I don't want to jinx it, but I think we're going to play Lament, and I think it's maybe one of my all-time favorite tunes. I was going to say my all-time favorite tune. So, it's for, I think I jinxed it. Casey wrote it. Casey wrote it. I also wanted to draw that one out.
Couple extra
Keep
seconds.
some, extra space in the middle. Another Brazilian tune. We got this one from Claudio Habeca, and it's called Mola de Ratoeira, which means, I'm probably not saying it very well, but it means mouse trap spring. Mouse trap spring. cajon, egg shaker. That is a complicated foot rhythm to be playing under a guitar pattern. And by the way, this tune, that last tune, and then the other Brazilian tunes we played, they're all from a genre called forró, which is a little bit like choro, but it's not. It's kind of, it's maybe more folky, if that makes sense. Like choro comes from, I think forró is like older and more kind of rootsy, and choro is more jazzy. Okay. We have another one. It's called She Runs a Tight Ship, and I wrote it for our Bellingham's very own Kaylee Schmidt, who organizes lots of festivals and is now the director of the Celtic Arts Foundation. So she runs a tight ship. She's really good at organizing. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I forgot to say that's one of my favorites. That's by Colleen. I think she said that. Okay, listen, there's somebody very special in the audience. Leslie is out there, and Leslie is a champion of this next tune. There's something's going on over there. Leslie! This next tune is kind of a hard tune to play, and so it's kind of was in and out of our repertoire, and Leslie would just sort of like, it happens to be Clea's mom, Leslie, would often scold Clea for the song not being on our set list, and recently in a car ride she admonished me as well, and so it's back in the set list. It's going out to Leslie tonight. This is our last tune. So, thanks, Leslie. Just kidding. Hope you like it. It's called Farrago, and anything else? Oh, and I wrote it. All right, here we go. Shake it off. All right, here we go.
You're gonna make me cry. Do we give him a choice, or we just?
I think we should do both of them.
Oh, there's two. We're gonna do them both.
Is that cool, Johnny? Do we have? Is that? I don't want to overstay our welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
What are they? Up north and Malamala. In that order, I think. Yeah.
We should do Malamala first.
We should.
Oh, whatever.
I'm open to you.
Yeah, up north.
Okay.
Okay. This is one I wrote called Up North, and one of the first tunes of mine I think that we played as a band, and I just just really appreciate these people in this band.
At the Old Town Cafe. I remember it. Yeah, that's where we played Up North for the first time as a band. which means the unlovable. And I learned it from an accordion player in France. And like just around a campfire, and Casey tracked it down. I didn't even know what it was called. And yeah, it has two names, Le Petit Déj, which is like breakfast, or Le Malamambo, which is unlovable.
Just as a reminder, we have some CDs, and also Josh and Ray have CDs up here if you would like to pick any of those up. And thanks again to the Orion and Johnny, and I wish I knew the other bartender's name, sorry. Don't forget to tip them, and thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate the warmth, and we'll be back in some other incarnation.
Oh, I was gonna count to three twice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1.